Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Careers Talks. In this video, I'll walk you through a step-by-step guide that is aimed at helping you ace the Amazon behavioral interview. This is a crucial part of the interview process for anyone who wants to land a job at Amazon. The tips and strategies I share in this video have helped me land a job at Amazon twice, as a business analyst intern in Dubai and as a supply chain data analyst in London. Please note that the tips and strategies I share in this video are purely based on my own experience and are not an official statement from Amazon. If you're ready, let's dive straight into it. Whether you're applying for a technical or a non-technical role, the behavioral interview is crucial for you to pass the interview and get the job at Amazon. Why is it so important to ace your behavioral interview? Well, interviewers at Amazon use the behavioral interview as a way to collect data points about your past experiences and past behavior in different roles and different situations to assess how will you react and how will you manage the challenges and opportunities in this role. Therefore, you will have to prepare behavioral stories about previous experiences, internships, projects, and full-time roles to demonstrate that you are the right candidate for the role. If you want to pass the behavioral interview at Amazon, you need to familiarize yourself with the leadership principles. What are the leadership principles? The leadership principles are 16 principles that are at the core of the company's culture and interview process. We use the leadership principles every day, whether it comes to hiring, operational decisions, and assessing performance. Interviewers specifically use the leadership principles to assess how you align with the role and the company's culture. In this next section of the video, I will give you the best strategy to use these principles to ace the interview process. I'm not gonna dive into the leadership principles one by one, as there's multiple resources on YouTube and the internet that explain them well. But in this video, and now in this section, I will tell you 3 key steps you have to do to really make sure that you ace this part of the process. First of all, you have to sit and think of all your past experiences, whether it's full-time roles, internships, side projects, and just write some bullet points describing these experiences. What have you done? What was the problem? What is the solution you offered, and that's an important part. So even if you worked in a team, you have to highlight what you did specifically. And lastly, some kind of result. So did you improve an efficiency of a certain process by X%, or did you save your team 2-3 hours weekly by automating a certain report, etc., based on your past experiences. Once you have created this list of stories and past experiences, you have to make sure that they are in a STAR format, which means situation, task, action, and result. So open a Google Doc and then add your stories one by one. Make sure under situation you have 3-4 bullet points describing the situation briefly. Task, similar concept. Make sure under each part of the STAR structure or format, you have brief, concise bullet points describing your situation, the tasks, the actions, and the results. Again, there are multiple resources on the internet describing how to make sure you turn your past experiences and use them in a STAR format so that you ace the behavioral interview. Now, a very effective mechanism that really helped me a lot to see which stories match which principles and to have that during my interview is this matrix that I've built. Now, what is this matrix? Basically, I've listed the 13-14 most important principles that I think really align with this role that I'm applying for here. And then in red or in a different color, there's 2-3 very brief bullet points describing that leadership principle. Now here I have, from the story bank that I've wrote or built, I have also 2-3 words describing each story or each experience, and then I just add like a tick or a Y whenever I have a story that aligns with this specific leadership principles or that demonstrates this leadership principle. This really helped me a lot in several ways in the interview process. And now in this section, I'll tell you why this mechanism and why this paper or matrix really helped me ace the behavioral interview. Now, how will such a paper help you ace the interview process? One thing that I must mention is, of course, doing this is not the only thing you need to do to pass the interview. You need to make sure that you're applying to the right role, you have the right level of experience, you have the right skills. This is just a mechanism or just a simple way, an effective way to keep track of what stories did you use, what leadership principles were you asked. So to quickly explain why this mechanism is helpful. First of all, this way you'll be able to keep track of which stories you've already used. So let's say you have your call with your hiring manager, and then in a week you have your panel interview. During the interview with your hiring manager, make sure to add a mark to the stories you've used and try to avoid using these stories again, as interviewers will definitely like to hear more about different experiences rather than you repeating the same story again and again for different leadership principles. The second point is, this way you can use one leadership principles for multiple stories. So if it's just a one-to-one relationship, you will struggle, especially that in the panel interview you might be asked on 3-4 different leadership principles. So you'll have to know how to use the same story for different leadership principles. Another thing is, in the interview you might be asked a question and you don't have the time to take 2 or 3 minutes just to think of all your stories and then choose the one that really you think matches this leadership principle. So what this will help you is, you have all your stories there, and once you're asked about any of these leadership principles here, you can easily skim through this list and make sure that you're choosing the right story for the right leadership principle. This is a trap that many candidates fall in, and you need to make sure that you're not just using your best story and the story where you have a lot of achievements. Make sure that you're using the right story that answers this specific question or this specific leadership principle. So you might ask about, tell me about a time where you acted under pressure. And this might be testing the leadership principle of bias for action and how do you act quickly in certain situations. So make sure that when you answer the question, you're choosing a story that fully answers the question and touches on the specific points of how you took actions where you dealt with a certain situation under pressure. Let me leave you with some tips that will hopefully help you do a great job in your behavioral interview. Number 1, make sure you understand the question very well, even if you ask a clarification question. So, if the interviewer tells you, for example, tell me about a time where there was a trade-off between the quality of the project and the delivery timeline or timeline of delivery, make sure that you understood the question and you understood what they really want. And if you didn't understand, ask any clarifying question that you have. 2 is, you can always ask for a minute, maximum 2 minutes to prepare your answer. So let's say you haven't prepared for the question of, tell me about a time where you dealt with a tough piece of feedback or critical feedback. You can take a minute or a minute and a half and tell them, okay, do you mind if I take a minute to prepare my answer? That is completely fine. 3, and this is a very, very important point. Make sure that you're choosing a story that answers this specific question. Don't just use a story because you've done something great in it or you have automated the process fully. Make sure you're using that story because it answers this specific question that you were asked. 4, stay focused and even write down the question before answering it. So while you are answering the question, you make sure that you don't go off tangents and that you are always making sure that the situation, action, task, and result part of your answer all touch on this specific question and all answer this specific question. Number 5. Prepare for follow-ups. Interviewers are there to help you, and they might ask a follow-up question just to be able to get a data point. So you might tell them, oh, I automated this report and it really helped the process become more efficient. They might ask you, can you tell me a bit more about how did it help the team? Did it save them time? Blah, blah, blah. And the only reason why they're asking these questions is to try to get a specific number or a data point, which leads me to the 6th tip. Number 6, make sure you provide data points in your answers. Amazon is a data-centric company, and one of the key ways they assess your performance in the interview is really looking at metrics or data points. So if you improve the process, try to quantify by how much. So did you save the team time? Did you improve the efficiency by 30%? Did you reduce the onboarding of people in your team by X days, X weeks, etc.? Just make sure, try to mention numbers when possible in your stories. The 7th and last tip is try to do a mock interview, as it's very, very helpful. Mock interviews is a great way to see how you react to someone asking you a question. How well do you communicate your stories? How well do you understand the question? So it's really a great way to practice the behavioral interview, and hopefully these tips will help you ace the process. And there you have it. Hopefully this guide was comprehensive enough, and remember, preparation is key to success. I hope that by following the tips and strategies I shared in this video, you will shine in the interview and you will do an amazing job. If the video was beneficial and you find it insightful, don't forget to like, share it with others, and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, good luck with your interview, and see you in the next video.